Hey there friends, Stephen Petaski here, founder of the Luxus Group, and thank you so much for being with me today because I'm really excited about this episode because it's focused on something different than all the previous episodes. All the original ones have been around buying real estate, identifying your dream property, short-term rentals, everything about the process of acquiring it and managing that property. Today, we're talking about a different aspect of it, but equally as important, and that's the selling of the real estate. There's no buyer without a seller. So today we want to give you those tools, education, and information so you're armed to ultimately maximize the sales price of your home when you're ready to sell and the timeline in to do it. Those are the two primary goals generally when you're selling a home, is maximizing price and doing it quickly. There are so many things you can do, even in today's marketplace, which is very hot and things are selling very quickly, in order to stand out amongst the rest and ultimately achieve that ultimate goal for you and your family when you're exiting a home. Now, before we dive into the content, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time, welcome. Welcome to the show. This channel is all about giving people tools and education to allow you to be armed with all the information you need to buy and sell and manage and rent and ultimately find your dream vacation property. So if you're new to the show, thank you. And please, if you like it, share, subscribe, and go back and watch some of the previous episodes, which again, we're focused on the buy cycle, identifying, finding, acquiring that perfect home for you. And if you're a recurring guest, thank you as well, of course. I hope you've enjoyed previous content. I hope you enjoyed today's. And please give us feedback, whether it's your first time or if you watched several episodes. We want to know what it is that you want to learn about. We have lots of information, lots of experience to share, but it's your feedback that drives these episodes. So please be sure to share your experience with us, what you liked about the show and didn't like, of course, so we can provide better education, better content for you in the future. So thanks again for being here. Let's kick off the show. Okay, most important thing I believe right now is get a notepad and paper because there's lots of tips here. It's a really note-taking episode. These tools are going to help you for sure. They're going to help you ask the right questions of your broker, which is, to kick it off, the most important part of this process. You obviously can do for sale by owner, and there's different vehicles and ways to sell your home, but I highly, highly, highly recommend using a professional agent from a reputable firm who's got credibility and experience behind them. That ultimately is going to drive you, again, those two primary goals: selling for maximum dollars, and number two is selling it in the quickest timeline possible. Now, in selecting a broker, that's its own unique mission. It's such a critical aspect because it's more so than just picking your friend or the person that helped you buy the home or what's your friend's broker. It's really finding the right person to fit for you, like something you have a culture and core value fit, someone you know it's got your back, it's going to do a great job for you. But just as important, is extremely well positioned in your particular market to be the person to sell your particular home. It's really interesting. Most people assume all agents are either, they either help people buy homes or they help people sell homes. It's true, you can do both sides of the deal, but what you'll find, a lot of agents specialize in one side or the other. Some people primarily enjoy representing the buyers to find homes and acquire assets that way. Others more specialize in the sales side. They're great at open houses, they're great at marketing, they're great at providing data to help you set up your home for ideal sale. So try to pick, when you're looking at it, understand, does your broker have a preference to which side that they will be on? Again, most people will do both sides because it creates a financial win on both sides, and they're probably pretty good at both sides. But I don't want pretty good who's selling my house. I want excellent, outstanding, world class, because that's going to help, again, solve and achieve those two primary goals. Now, when it comes to selecting a broker, it can be sometimes an overwhelming process because you're not sure if you want to pick, again, your friend or you want to interview different people. We can offer this service. It's something we do very well. We will learn and talk to you about your home and your asset and the specifics around it, and we will go actually to be the ones in the market to find the agent that's going to be the right person for you, that's going to have your back, but also the right person that, as I said before, positioned ideally in the market to sell your home. So if it's something you're interested in, reach out to us. We can go through the process and we can recommend some options, or even just one person, but we can give you your own interviews to make the final selection if that's what you want, and give you with what we believe are the best agents and brokers to represent you in your particular market. So if you're interested in that, you can email us advice@luxusgroup.com, and we can help make that process a bit easier for you. Just a very quick, easy win. If you only watch a few minutes of this, capture that and allow us to help you if you're in the process of selling a vacation home. Now, if you want to watch the rest of the show, this is about you leading the process and understanding the things you're going to talk to your broker and agent about. Again, these little hacks, tools, and tricks that will help get you that little edge, an extra little bit of prominence and posture in the MLS system against all your competitors to make sure you get the best value for your home and the best overall experience. Now let's kick off with table stakes. So what are the table stakes that your broker, no matter who you pick, is going to want to talk to you about? There's three primary things. First off is pricing strategy. You have to be able to pick a price for your home. How do you do that? Well, it is a little bit of a thumb in the wind approach about like how the market is and kind of the gut feeling of the agent, and dependent upon how connected they are with your particular micro market of homes, they might be able to nail it on the first try. Personally, I prefer is a bit more data, a bit more market trends, and particularly in a slower market. In today's hot market, it is a little bit challenging because the market's changing so quickly and prices are going up so fast, which is great. It's very much a seller's market. But pricing strategy is key, and you're obviously going to be looking at it through two lenses. Am I looking at it through the lens of aspirational pricing? I want to be the new high watermark in this particular market, so I'm going to increase my price to a level that I'm comfortable waiting for a while, and I'm comfortable if it doesn't sell for a while because I want to get this really high price. We'll call it that aspirational pricing model. Or do I want to make sure it moves quickly? So I'm going to price it at the market. I'm going to try to get an offer in quickly so I can move our way out of this, collect your money and move on to the next chapter of your life. There's technically a third way that people do it as well these days, in particular in a seller's market. You price it well below market value in the expectation to trigger a bidding war for your home. This is a very specific strategy. You need to work with an agent that actually knows how to do this, who's done it many times, because it can backfire with not getting multiple offers and you get one offer at list price, which you have to take. So there are different strategies. Make sure you sit down, talk about all three, talk with your family. It has to understand, are you willing to wait for a while? Or do you just want to trigger this thing and get things rolling quickly? And of course, the market is hot right now, so you can take advantage of the opportunity that exists, which is new to all of us. In the last 10 years, 14 years, it has not been this hot since 2006. So let's take advantage if you're selling, and let's try to make sure you trigger the sale that you're looking for with what's important to you. The next thing about understanding what the process is seasonality. When is a good time to list your property? Is it better to list it on the fall before the kickoff to, let's say, a beach season? So let's say Hawaii. Would I list in October, November so the home is ready and ideal for someone to buy it and move in by Christmas or January, February? That type of strategy has generally been the way people would process the idea of when I go ahead and list. Another example to that would be listing your lake property in April or May, so you're first to the market. So when people are thinking about their lake vacations, they're using the emotion in their brain that triggers them to say, okay, I'm ready to go pull the trigger on that particular asset. And they go in advance of the busy season, list their home, and be first to the market to ensure they capture the best price and capture that motivated buyer who wants to be there during that busy season. But one important consideration here is how your family intends to use it. If you have a lake property and you want to get one final summer out of it, you may not list it until August or early September, right at the tail end of the busy season, so you get your own personal utilization, at which point then you list it. But you will be going into a slower season. Again, in a traditional market cycle, this has some risk. It carries some challenges because you may be going into the off season. Again, lake property as an example, October, November, high likelihood your property may sit on the market through till next spring or summer until the market heats up again. Today's odd day and age, as we're experiencing right now, things are selling anytime when they hit the market, depending upon what destination you're in. But so I wouldn't rely on that, because if there is a market reset, that may slow down and create a bit more inventory. Generally speaking, right now, there's not necessarily a bad time to list your home because there's a lack of supply, generally speaking, in all of these wonderful vacation destinations. So talk to your broker about seasonality, timing of listing. Make sure you map out a strategy in advance for your pricing, so when you do hit the market, you're ready to go in that regard. So to wrap that section up, you're going to talk about pricing, and you're going to talk about the seasonality to determine when's the best time to list. But one more question your agent's going to ask you is, what are you selling the home with? Are you selling it with the furniture, with the equipment? The equipment could be like, a Nintendo, a PlayStation, or bikes in the garage, or different things. But the furniture primarily is a very important thing. Particularly, again, today, people are looking to move into homes quickly. Assuming your furniture is nicely set up and it's a beautiful home, people want what they call, quote unquote, turnkey, so they can turn their key and walk into the home and it's completely set up for them, versus the stresses that come along with trying to buy a home, especially during COVID. There's supply chain issues, and it becomes a really big issue and hassle to furnish a home. So deciding whether you're selling it furnished or not is really important, and then how you set up that furniture, we're going to cover a bit later. When it comes to furniture, again, I think it's an advantage if it's a well-furnished home, could trigger a quicker sale. simply for that reason that they do not have to wait to try to find their own furniture for it. But some people want to have a brand new clean slate. That's important to some buyers. And your buyer may determine they don't want the furniture, which means they could ask you to remove it all, so you have to be able to deal with that in an estate sale or a wholesaler that buys it back and tries to resell it. So be prepared for that. But most cases we're seeing right now, buying fully furnished is part of the program, in particular if the furniture is relatively new and in good condition. That wraps up the table stakes, the very basics that your agent's going to ask you to help position your home for a sale as it goes into MLS and into the open market. Now, let's talk about the extras. Here's all the little things you can do, the little tweaks you can do to maximize the value by positioning your home slightly different than the rest. Now, when I go through these, your agent may or may not agree with all these things in today's market. I believe everyone would agree with it in a typical market, but again, in today's world with these extremely hot markets, putting homes out there just immediately and seeing multiple offers come in, not all of these things may be as necessary, but if there is a market plateau or a reset or more inventory comes on, or you're thinking of selling 1 or 2 years down the road, then understanding these tips would be really, really important to separate yourself from the rest of the inventory that's on the market. So, first item, property staging. When I say property staging, it's taking what you have in your home and staging it in a way that allows a buyer to walk through it and feel like they can be at home, like they can live there. If you have trinkets and you have personal family photos and you have art that's not really neutral and you have various things that are very highly personal, sometimes it's hard for people to visualize and understand them living in that home. So clean and organized and looking like a show home consistently when those buyers tour through really will make a big impact in order your ability to sell, because it's going to show better. In regards to staging, there are staging companies that'll come out and do it for you, but generally speaking, you just need to put in a couple days of hard work, cleaning things up, boxing up things that are not important, and bringing in your agent, get their feedback, or a professional designer that can come in and have a look around and give you some feedback would help as well. So strongly encourage setting your home up in a really, really great way so that when people walk in, they feel like they can be living there. And that's really, really important. The next thing is marketing your property. Again, today, not as important as typically is, but usually what would happen, an agent will go through and take photos. They would have a marketing plan for you, in particular for the higher end home. Let's call it 1 to 2 million plus. So let's say 2, 3, 4, 5. They would plan on putting it in a local real estate magazine, somewhere to promote your property, anticipating that the days on market, or DOM, are going to be 30 to 180 days. So it's going to have to be well positioned for that home to actually sell. Now, that type of marketing / advertising is not as important today as it used to be, because by the time that agent puts that into that magazine, it's probably going to be sold anyway. So think less about the advertising, more about marketing, and marketing is around positioning your property to be something unique and different. And one important thing you can do is high quality photography. Your agent should be able to recommend a couple of really great photographers. Always pick the really good ones. Don't pick the $200 or $300 versions. They might do a really good job. And again, depends on your property and the price point in your market specifically. But we always pick a really good one. We're always been selling homes between the $1 to $5 million range. We pick the more expensive ones who come in and get all the right angles. They have the right light, the right setups, who for a living don't shoot wedding photos and do the side hustle of shooting real estate. They shoot real estate for a living. That's the type of photography you want. They will make your home show so much better than your neighbors. And when people are scrolling through their phones and checking out the various listings, as few as they may be right now, yours is going to pop up and be like, whoa, that looks incredible. That's a home I want to check out. Hey, Joanne, I want to organize a tour of this home. So stand out with your photography. And of course, because you've already staged your home so well, that part's going to look fantastic. And when people show up to your home, the pictures are going to match the experience. I've seen the other way around, where the pictures are done so beautifully and you walk in, it feels lived in, it's worn, it doesn't feel like home, and you're kind of disappointed. It's a bit of a letdown, and ultimately it changes your mindset and perception of what you thought that property would be. So that being deflated when you walk in is the complete opposite you want to have. You want people inflated when they walk in, or at least meeting the expectations that they've seen when they saw your amazing photos online. On the flip side for photos, if you cheap out and spend a couple $100 or try to use your own iPhone photos, there's a high degree of risk that you're not going to capture as many high quality buyers, because they're going to look on MLS and it's going to look really bad. Now, pro tip for buyers, when I'm searching for real estate, I often look, especially in a hot market, for the ones with the bad photos, because in my mind, I believe that property's been overlooked by several other potential buyers. And in certain situations, we've actually caught really amazing properties for people that just did a lazy and poor job on staging their home and taking good photography. So because they didn't do those things, they lost other buyers. I'm actually attracted to those often sometimes to try to get that inside edge on that particular property, and it's actually worked out. Most of the times when they're bad pictures, the property's probably pretty bad as well, but you're gonna find that gem from time to time there where you show up and you're like, wow, this is way better than the photos. Let's put an offer on, it's underpriced, and let's be the person that steals this asset. Now that's photography, but if you're thinking of really elevating it, and this really only works in called the 5 million plus range, generally speaking, is using drone and point of view videos. This is the new wave. So if you're selling 5 to 10 million plus, it's almost a standard and expected, even in this market, as crazy as it is you would go hire a drone pilot and they would shoot amazing videos over your house and the pool and the view corridors. And the POV, or point of view, is amazing now. The technology is so good with the drones. They can fly into your house to your front door and off the patio. It's phenomenal. So a really, really great way to highlight your particular home is by doing that, and that extra investment into that luxury space. You might get an extra $250,000 for your property. You might get an extra $1 million. It might completely stand out over all the competition because you took the effort and invested to these things up front to trigger the highest quantity of buyers in for your home so that they can either bid against each other or one amazing buyer that gives you the full list price you're looking for out of the gate. Now those are a few good tips that have helped us because so many times over the past we've sold homes and sometimes we got a little lazy. We didn't invest all this time up front and we're wondering why that listing's sitting on there for so long. And we realized the agent hadn't done the marketing, hadn't priced it effectively, hadn't staged it effectively, and our photography was crap. So we've learned a lot through mistakes over the years by doing that. So we actually have a full protocol when we're setting up our homes, taking these tools I just shared with you to ensure when it does hit the market, whether the market's hot or cold, we want it to be reflective of our brand, reflective of the quality of asset that it is, and we put our best foot forward. Now I'm going to shift gears for a second and talk about short-term vacation rentals. If you haven't heard about this, I've covered a whole episode on this. It'll pop up on the screen right now. Go check it out. It'll explain the highly regulated world of short-term vacation rentals and what it means. And effectively what it is with Airbnb coming into the world, municipalities and governments and communities have started to govern people's ability to short-term vacation to rent their property. Why is this important to you? Well, if you're selling a home that has the ability to have a short-term vacation rental permit, like a compliant legal permit attached to it, that can increase the value of your property depending upon where it is. So two things here. If you already have a compliant STVR permit or short-term vacation rental permit, let your broker know, and also let them know if you have rentals on the books that can't be canceled. That's going to inform them on how they're going to pursue their strategy to market your home because it brings in different buyers. These are buyers that don't mind the idea of short-term vacation renting and they want to keep those rentals on the books, which could actually enhance the value of your property. You may lose some potential buyers that are thinking they want to move into your place immediately. So also make sure you know if you do have rentals on the books, can they be canceled? If so, what penalty? So that when a buyer comes to you, whether they want to keep the rentals or lose them, you know what your rights and obligations are and responsibilities to those bookings. Really important to know as well that your STVR permit can be grandfathered and sold with the house to the next buyer. Some areas of the world don't allow that. When a house sells, that permit stops and needs to be reissued to the new buyer. Some places, the permit is actually attached to the home and is grandfathered with the deal. Really, really important because if you sell it and that person cannot get an STVR permit for whatever reason, and you haven't disclosed that, you could be in a bit of trouble. So it's really, really important. Know the rights, know the rules around the STVR permits, and make sure when you are soliciting a buyer and you're sharing with them, you have all the correct information because it can harm you if you have the wrong path, but really it could elevate you and separate you from the rest of the pack by having this really unique asset that has rentals on the books and the ability to rent and create revenue going forward. Now, option number two is if you are a seller that has a home that has not been short-term renting it, but you are in a regulatory environment that allows you to get an STVR permit, that might give you a competitive edge. We recommend to clients often to go ahead and get that, especially if it's attached to the home itself. Because the environment's changing so frequently right now, it's really important to actually have that because now you have two types of buyers that can buy your home. You have the buyer that wants to be an end user, buy it specifically for their own personal use, and you have the ability for someone to buy it who's an investment buyer or someone who wants to create some revenue on the side to offset their costs. So giving someone the best of both worlds as the perfect scenario in order to position yourself to maximize the number of buyers coming to you because you have people looking at it for different uses. So think about STVR permits, understand when you're selling. Your broker, again, should know and be able to help you with this and determine if that's going to be an asset for you when you're selling and how you can best position for future buyers. A lot of people are surprised, particularly foreign buyers in markets where they don't maintain tax residency, come to find after selling there's taxes and there's different things you have to deal with at that time. So I'm going to cover a few of these off so you know going into it what questions to ask so you can prepare yourself for what is to come. First off, if you're a foreign buyer in a market, whether you're buying in the Caribbean or Europe or you're Canadian buying in the United States or Mexico, understand if you can sell the property and close it without having to sign off on the closing deed or the sales documents on that particular country's soil. Really important. The other day, I was caught on this where I had to fly to the Dominican Republic on a home that we were selling because I had to be in Dominican Republic soil in order to close on the property. There are options to run it through the embassies or the consulates in the countries that you reside in. So I could have went to Toronto, but there's a lineup and COVID rules and it was shut down. So I actually had to fly to that country for 24 hours to sign documents and fly back. Bit of a surprise to me, and we do this all the time. So really important to know, do you have to do that for your particular sale so you're not caught off guard and it doesn't slow down the closing process? Second item, if you're a foreign buyer, understand the tax environment you're selling in. Particularly if you're a seller in a foreign market, there are usually what they call foreign withholding taxes. So basically that government is going to keep a chunk of your gross proceeds in their coffers until you file a tax return to make sure you pay taxes on the capital gains. I actually covered this in a previous episode with the most common mistakes when buying or selling a piece of real estate. So go check that out because it's good information there to understand about the tax environment. Make sure you talk to a qualified, credible tax advisor, gives you the right advice. And the last thing you want is to be offside in your taxes when you're leaving a foreign country. You go back and realize you have arrears and you get caught with that, and that's a lot of trouble. So every time pay your taxes, do it right. You need the right advisors on your team, and that will help you be educated on these foreign withholding taxes when you're selling a home. Now, another important thing, in particular if you're part of an HOA or homeowners association, is to ensure that your HOA bills are all paid up, including your utility bills, your property taxes, and so on and so forth. When you get into a closing, escrow will call and to confirm that you are caught up and paid for these various things. And if you're not caught up, that could slow down the closing process or potentially give the buyer an exit. So it's the last thing you want to do. So make sure you're not in arrears, make sure everything is caught up and you're paid up and things are looking good. I promise you, it'll make the closing that much smoother. Now, one more thing I like to do and our company does regularly is before we actually list a home on the MLS, before it goes out to the world and we start to market it, we do an inspection before that happens. We either hire a professional inspector or we actually have our handyman do it, but we go around with a list to make sure everything is in good working order in the house. It helps us identify problems before they come up. It helps us polish up the home, put some lipstick on it, and ensure the plumbing, and I say the plumbing, that could be the air conditioning, the water, the behind the scenes things, because when a buyer puts an offer in your house, one of the conditions they will always have is subject to an inspection. So they're going to hire an inspector to come into your house and go through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure everything's in working order and is as expected. Now, our homes are, any home that you're selling that's been around for a while is, a used car. It's been around the block, so it's not expected to be perfect. However, there's a lot of things that are expected to be in great working order. So we like to do in advance as we go ahead and get these things done. It costs us a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s. And when you think about the scope of $1 million to $2 or $3 million property, it's a small price to pay because it gives the buyer confidence. Nothing's better than when they order an inspector to go into their house for the inspection to look at all the various things that are going to be wrong with the house, and they find a very short report with only a few things. When an inspector comes out and says to the buyer, hey, you have a great home here, I inspect dozens of homes per week and this home is in great shape, it gives them all sorts of confidence during that closing process. Because remember, a buyer has the ability to back out of a deal once they see the inspection report. If they see it and there's termite infested or there's a pest problem or there is broken water pumps or whatever it could be, they could say, too much work for me, not what I signed up for, I'm out. And that could be really, really bad. On the flip side, when that inspection report is super small and they see all these great things again, builds this wonderful confidence, it ensures they move forward with making the deal hard. And that means by moving through the conditions, waiving them all, and making it so the deal is going to be going through as planned and as committed, versus them seeing things that scare them, things that can make them be less inspired about the house. Maybe another deal pops up during that diligence period. You potentially could have lost that deal because you did not invest a bit of time and a bit of money into the house as part as this pre-listing inspection, which I think is so valuable, and I promise will serve you well when you're looking to sell your home. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was a lot of fun for me sharing all the things we've learned over the past 15 years of selling homes, these little tips, these little hacks that help make all the difference when positioning your home in the market, whether it is a seller's market like we're in today when things are really hot, or a buyer's market. You want to stand out. You want to be the one that's a little bit different than the rest, so it draws people's attention to it and it helps you get the best offer in the quickest time frame and maximizes your overall value. Now, if you liked what you saw, I do have one important ask. It's kind of our fee for today. The fee is to like this, subscribe it, and or share it. Sharing for us is the most important part because we want the word to get out to people. So maybe you have a friend or a colleague or family member looking to sell their home. I'm sure there'll be a couple tips out of here that will help them during that process that could make their life a little bit easier and potentially help them make a bit more money. And as I referenced before, we are here to help. In particular with helping identify and find brokers that fit the particular needs of your family and of your particular home and its potential sale. So if you're looking for a broker in the market that you reside in and you're looking to sell, and there's so many different agents coming at you because they all want to be there, they're all working very hard to position themselves as the best person to sell your home, well, let's take the burden off you and we can do that for you. So please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. We go through an interview process and we help connect you with the best person we believe is ideal to help sell your home. That's it for today, friends. Thanks very much for watching this episode. Hope to see you in the next one. And until then, bye for now.